I should have walked away when the faucet stopped leaking. But something in her silence told me not to. I met her on a Wednesday, late afternoon, low sun bleeding through the kitchen window. She had just moved into the unit above mine, carrying boxes on her own and cursing under her breath. I offered to help. She said no. Then the next day she knocked, said her sink was doing something weird. Her name was Mara. Mid-40s, maybe? Hair tied up, paint on her forearm, and a look that made me feel like I should speak in complete sentences. Everything about her was composed, like she'd survived enough to know when to speak and when silence said more. I bent under her sink while she stood a few feet behind, arms crossed, not saying much. The space between us felt too still. There was no music, no fan, just the occasional sound of the wrench slipping and the thud of pipes. She didn't offer small talk. She didn't ask what I did or where I was from. She just watched, not impatient, not rude. More like, she was waiting for something else. "You good with your hands?" she asked eventually. I smirked, which I regretted instantly. "I try." "You seem careful." The line hung in the air longer than it should have. The leak wasn't hard to fix. But I stayed under the sink longer than I needed. Something about the way she stood behind me, just close enough, made me lose track of time. When I stood up, I wiped my palms on my jeans and muttered something dumb like, "That should do it." But she didn't look at the sink. She was looking at me. Really looking. "You're not like the others," she said. Her voice wasn't soft, exactly. But it wasn't casual either. Like she'd been thinking it longer than I'd been standing there. Then she stepped forward and placed her hand flat on my chest. Just for a second. Maybe two. My heart tripped. She looked down at her hand like she hadn't meant to do it. Like her body had betrayed her. Then her eyes met mine again. I should have said something. Asked what she meant? Made a joke. Laughed it off. But I didn't. I just stood there, still, waiting, and didn't move until she stepped back. She cleared her throat. "Thanks for helping." And just like that, she turned and walked out of the kitchen. But she left the room colder than before. And I stood there with her touch still burning into me. I told myself I was just bringing back her screwdriver. That's it. No reason to overthink it. No reason to knock twice. But when she opened the door, barefoot, sleeves rolled up, reading glasses in one hand, I forgot what I was even holding. "Oh," she said, like she wasn't expecting me. "You left already." "I thought you were." She didn't finish the sentence. Her eyes landed on the tool in my hand, and her smile flickered in. "Right. That. I figured I'd return it. You probably need it more than I do." She stepped aside and motioned for me to come in, not saying yes, not saying no. Just leaving the door open. That was the first thing I noticed. She never gave direct answers. Always left space, room for retreat. Inside, it smelled like cinnamon and some kind of old perfume. The light was low, mostly from the amber kitchen lamp. Half a glass of wine sat untouched on the counter. I handed her the screwdriver. She didn't take it right away. "You always this polite?" she asked, finally grabbing it, but gently, letting her fingers graze mine. "Only when I'm nervous," I said before I could stop myself. She tilted her head. "Are you?" I didn't answer. She moved to the counter and started fiddling with a drawer that didn't need fiddling. I watched her shoulder blades shift beneath her sweater, the way her hair was starting to fall loose at the neck. There was a quiet there, not the kind that begged for conversation, but the kind that made every thought feel louder than it should. "My divorce finalized last week," she said suddenly. I blinked. "Oh. I didn't know you were, yeah?" Most people didn't. She gave a half-laugh that didn't reach her eyes. 18 years. I still wake up expecting the other side of the bed to be warm. I didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. She poured herself a splash more wine, then glanced over at me. You sure you don't want to sit for a minute? I hesitated. Just long enough for it to be obvious. Sorry, she said quickly. That came out wrong. No. I stepped forward. I do. I mean, yeah? I'll stay. She handed me the glass. Hers. The same one. You look like someone who drinks red even if he doesn't like it. I laughed, quiet. I don't know what that means. But I took the glass anyway. For a while, we sat, me on the kitchen stool, her leaning against the counter. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was full. Like both of us were carefully sorting through things we hadn't meant to say. Then she looked at me. Really looked. And reached out slowly, placing her hand just above my elbow, a feather-light touch that didn't move. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. You make it hard to be careful. I told myself I wouldn't go back the next day. I told myself that last night didn't mean anything. People open up when they drink. People touch arms when they're sad. It wasn't a thing. I wasn't a thing. But when I passed by her door that evening, I slowed down. Just enough to hear music playing. Something slow, jazzy, quiet. And then, a voice. Hers. Singing. Softly, almost like a hum. I didn't mean to stand there. I really didn't. But I did. And the door opened. She stood there, barefoot again, cardigan slipping off one shoulder. A strand of hair clung to her cheek. No makeup this time. Eyes a little puffy. Real. I was just... I began. Listening, she finished. Not mad. Just aware. She stepped aside. It's just me in here, if that makes it less complicated. I stepped in. Complicated was exactly what it was. But I didn't say that. She was making tea. Not wine this time. A quiet clink of the spoon against porcelain as she stirred. The kitchen light buzzed faintly above. I used to sing, she said, eyes still on the mug. When I was younger. My ex hated it. Said it distracted him. I leaned on the counter, arms folded. You should keep singing. You sound... I stopped myself. She glanced up, something unreadable flickering across her face. You're not very good at pretending you're unaffected. I felt my throat tighten. I looked down at my shoes. I've never really learned how to act like things don't matter. She nodded, slow. That's what scares me. Her fingers brushed mine when she handed me the mug. Not an accident this time. Not subtle either. I felt it all the way to my spine. Then, her phone buzzed. She didn't check it. Just froze. It kept ringing. The screen lit up from the counter. Ethan. A man's name. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. But something changed in the air. She finally silenced it, setting the phone face down. Her shoulders dropped. She didn't explain. I didn't ask. But the silence that followed wasn't full this time. It was sharp. I should go, I said, setting down the untouched tea. You don't have to. I think I do. She moved closer, just a step, but it was enough to make my pulse kick up again. I don't know what this is, I admitted. Neither do I, she whispered. We stood there, her hand near mine, not touching. My breath stuck in my chest. If I moved half an inch, we'd be too close. Don't, I said softly. I wasn't even sure what I meant. Don't what? She tilted her head. Why not? Her fingers wrapped around mine like she'd already made the decision for both of us. I didn't pull away. I didn't move at all. We stood in her kitchen, everything too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your heartbeat sound louder than it should. I shouldn't be doing this, she whispered. I nodded. I know. But neither of us let go. I looked at our hands, hers smaller, colder, trembling just slightly. Mine holding on like I couldn't remember how to stop. Do you think this is about age? I asked finally. Her eyes flicked to mine. Isn't it? Not for me. She swallowed. Her jaw tensed. For me, she said, it's about timing. It's about losing so much, so fast, that I don't trust wanting anything again. She let go of my hand then. Especially something that makes me feel this. She trailed off, shook her head. It's reckless. I didn't disagree. But I stepped closer. You think I don't know that? I said. I go home and replay every second of the last few nights like I'm trying to catch myself messing up. She looked up sharply. And I haven't yet. I've just felt more awake than I have in years. Something cracked in her face then, a vulnerability she hadn't let show before. Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't cry. You make me feel young, she said softly. And that's terrifying. I'm not here to make you feel anything, I said. I'm just here. Her breath caught, and for the first time, she stepped back, one slow step, like she needed space to think. You don't understand what it's like to rebuild yourself from ashes, she said. To finally find some balance, and then I knock on your door with a screwdriver? Her laugh was broken, tired. But real. I don't want to need anyone right now, she said. Especially not you. I nodded. But you do? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached out and touched my chest again, just like that first night. Same spot. Same pressure. You're not like the others, she said again, but this time with something heavier in her voice. Not flirty. Not admiring. Almost regretful. I couldn't speak. We stood there, barely breathing. The kettle began to hiss on the stove, soft at first, then louder, like the room couldn't hold its breath anymore either. She turned the burner off, her back to me now. But before I could take that as my cue to leave, she asked, Do you think you could hurt me? Do you think you could hurt me? She asked it like she already knew the answer. I stood there, chest still burning from her touch, heart pounding hard enough to feel in my neck. I wanted to say no, of course not. But that felt too easy. Too dishonest. Before I could speak, her phone buzzed again. She didn't check it. This time I did. Screen lit. A message. Just one line. I saw him leaving again. Thought you said it was over? No name. No emoji. Just that. She froze. I looked up slowly. Who's texting you? She closed her eyes like she'd been caught somewhere between truth and shame. My sister. Why would she say that? Her jaw clenched. Because she thinks I've done this before. Silence. What do you mean this? She looked at me, and suddenly she wasn't composed anymore. No lipstick. No cool lines. Just a woman unraveling. I met someone after the separation, she said. Younger. He wanted more than I could give. I let it get too far and then. She inhaled sharply. I ended it badly. I took a step back, suddenly unsure where I stood. Did you love him? I asked. She flinched. I don't know. Maybe I just needed someone to need me. There it was. A truth. One that changed everything. I didn't know what I was to her. Not anymore. I turned away, just enough to break the eye contact. My hands fidgeted. My mouth was dry. Is that what this is? I asked. Another placeholder? No. Her voice cracked. You're not a replacement. But you hesitated. I turned back toward her, voice low now. You hesitated before saying that. I hesitated, she whispered, because I'm terrified I mean it. The room felt smaller suddenly. Closer. Like all the space between us had collapsed into something heavy. I didn't come here to be a chapter in your rebuilding, I said. I came here because I couldn't stop thinking about you. Tears welled in her eyes now, but she didn't cry. I didn't ask for this, she said. Neither did I. But here we are. The air crackled. Somewhere in the building, a door slammed. Distant. Unrelated. But it made us both flinch. She stepped forward slowly. I wanted to tell you earlier, she said. But the second I saw how you looked at me, like I wasn't broken, I couldn't risk ruining that. I looked at her then. Not the woman who touched my arm or flirted with me over wine, but the one who sat in her own uncertainty, scared of being both too much and not enough at the same time. So, I said, my voice hoarse. What now? Her forehead pressed against mine. No kiss. No move. Just that, the weight of skin touching skin, as if that simple contact could keep the chaos inside both of us from spilling over. I didn't want this to happen, she said, voice low, almost apologetic. But it did. She nodded. We stayed like that for a few seconds more, breathing the same air, pretending time would wait. Then she pulled back and looked at me, not the version of me she thought she shouldn't want, but me. All of me. The one who'd shown up again and again, despite the caution signs written in every gesture she made. I've spent the last year rebuilding, she said. Not just my life. My sense of self. My boundaries. And then, you came. I swallowed. I'm not here to tear anything down. No, she said, with the faintest smile. You're here because you saw something in me I forgot was still there. She took my hand and brought it to her chest, not in a romantic way, but in the quiet, steady way people do when they want someone to feel the truth through their pulse. I don't know what happens next, she whispered, but I don't want to lie about how I feel anymore. The air in the room shifted, not cleared exactly. Just less dense. I'm scared I'll hurt you, she added, tears finally breaking through her voice. I'm scared I'll wake up one day and panic and push you away. I nodded. You probably will. That made her laugh, a quiet, wet laugh that sounded more like relief than amusement. And I'll probably overthink everything and say the wrong thing at the worst time, I added. But I'll still come back. I'll still want to understand you. Her lips parted like she wanted to respond, but no words came. Instead, she just leaned into me, forehead to my shoulder, her arms wrapping around my waist like she was holding on not to me, but to the choice she'd finally made. We stood there, still and real, two people deciding, not because it was convenient or logical, but because walking away would have meant carrying the silence forever. I'm not asking for perfect, I said softly, my chin resting against her hair. Just real. She looked up. You'll get real. Messy. Slow. Scared. But real. And then she kissed me. Not urgent. Not hungry. Just honest. It's been 3 months since that night in her kitchen. We still don't call it a relationship. We don't label it. We don't rush it. There are no matching toothbrushes or Sunday rituals, not yet. But she keeps tea for me now. I leave my sweatshirt on the back of her chair. And she hums when she cooks again. Sometimes she stops herself mid-laugh, like she forgot it's okay to be happy. Like she needs permission. I don't say anything when that happens. I just reach for her hand, and she always gives it. The night everything shifted, she told me she was afraid she'd push me away. and she did once. For a week. Said she needed space. I let her have it. But I still brought her groceries that weekend. Left them at the door without knocking. She opened it anyway. Wordless. Pulled me in by the collar and whispered, "Thank you for not making me explain. That's what we are now, not perfect, not defined, but chosen. Every day. And something in me feels steadier for it." I notice things I didn't before. The way she touches her wrist when she's thinking, the way she stops blinking when she's holding back tears, how she always pretends not to like romantic movies but watches them alone when she thinks I'm not coming over. She's let me see her at her most unguarded, morning breath, messy bun, rage at the broken washing machine. And I've let her see my uncertainty. My need. My fear that maybe I want her too much. We've argued. About little things, mostly. About how I leave cabinet doors open. About how she never lets me carry her heavy bags. But even in the arguments, there's something underneath, a decision not to run. Because now we both know what that costs. What's changed? Everything, honestly. But also, just this, she stopped flinching when I said I missed her. I stopped needing her to say it back every time. And one night, after falling asleep on her couch, I woke up to find her tucking a blanket around me. She thought I was still asleep. She whispered, "You're not like the others. You stayed." And I did. I'm still here. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. This wasn't just a story about a younger man and an older woman. It was about fear. Timing. Trusting something even when it doesn't make sense on paper. Sometimes what we need isn't someone perfect, it's someone who shows up. Quietly. Consistently. Without needing to be asked. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Let me know in the comments. Your feedback shapes what comes next.